Hi, Impacts World family. Welcome back. It's kind of been a busy summer for us all. So this is our first health chat that we've had in a couple of months. And now we're going to be going back to the bi-weekly format. So what better way to kick off the fall season than to have back one of our very favorite guests, someone I enjoy immensely and one of the few people I have to watch the clock so I don't go too long because I just enjoy talking to him so much. So tonight we are really going to focus on this little gem right here, this MPX 100. I don't know how many of you have ever tried it or know anything about it, but we're going to talk with Cary Nosler about it tonight. Those of you, I'm going to let Cary introduce himself. I know our Impacts World family knows him very well, but if this is your first time to tune in, you might not know what an absolute health guru this guy is. So Cary, I want you to say hello and just give us a little nutshell about what you do, why you're qualified to talk to us about health and nutrition.
I will. Thank you for having me. I'm a little disappointed though when you said the end of summer, because I don't want summer to end.
Never, the never-ending summer.
I hope not. Anyway, I have had an interest in health and nutrition as long as I can remember, and my life has been structured pretty much around my passions. I was fortunate enough when I started my career, if you want to call it a career, being in broadcasting and being someone who was so focused on health. Fortunate circumstances just led me to be having programs that dealt with health and working on radio, working on television, and teaching classes and doing different kinds of things that all related to that. So I was able to keep my vocation as an avocation, that they could all come together. And the older I get, Wendy, the more logical it becomes, because the one thing you see as you get older is, in looking back, you realize that the quality of whatever you have going forward is as important as anything you did before up to that point. And it's this whole existence is just such a short little run that if we don't take care of the opportunities we have, it can be a very, very sad journey, especially at the end. We've all seen people who just didn't heed the warnings or didn't understand just what that all meant, and having to deal with a quality of life that is less than satisfactory. And we have so much technology now, we can keep people alive, but that doesn't mean they're enjoying that life or that they're healthy enough to really participate in the things that always meant the most to them. So we're trying to help that.
Yeah, and I like you, I have a passion. My passion has been to help people. I say, live on purpose, not to just live every day, but to live with purpose, on purpose. And one of the reasons that I care about health and wellness physically is because there is no way you can step into that thing that makes you you, that the reason you're on the planet and the way you interact with the community around you and the people you love. If you're not healthy, it really, I know just when I have an off day, a single off day, how depleted my energy, my mental capacity, my creativity, my joy, just when I'm having an off day. So, when you've got a debilitating illness or something, diabetes or all those kind of things that really take so much of your focus and energy, you can't really focus on being your best self, your happiest self. So I have a passion for people being healthy so they can do what they're on this planet to do. So I love to lean into the expertise of guys like you who have made it your life's intention and goal to study, right? Because I can dip into your study. I trust you, Cary. So when you tell me something about health and wellness, I take it to the bank. Not that I won't do any due diligence, but I trust you. So you're an expert in your field. So thank you so much just for sharing what you know. You don't get a paycheck for doing this. I don't get, you're here because you love helping people. So anyway, tonight
it's also been fun though too, being with the Impacts group over the years and being with people who are interested in that aspect and kind of just seeing how we all develop as a part of this process. And when you devote as much time to health and the products as we do, you want to have something that's rock solid. You want to have a foundation that you don't have to apologize for.
Yeah,
And
no, it's
that's the
so
way
good.
here.
I love to be around people who are of like nature and ability. That's kind of like we draw a little tribe around us. That's why it's an Impacts World family, because kind of at the core, we all have this desire for health and wellness. In Impacts World, it's a mental, physical, and spiritual health. There's even an acronym. I recently learned, I didn't even understand that impacts was an acronym for impacting mental, physical, and spiritual health.
Yes.
And that's kind of what the whole family is about. So, okay, so tonight we're going to talk about MPX 100. And the whole point of that mostly is I want to kind of leap off at, there's this thing you hear, and there's commercials galore for weight loss products and all sorts of surgery and all kinds of things, because you're not fat, you're insulin resistant. So what in the world does insulin resistance, what is insulin resistance? What does it mean? How does it impact our body? Take it away, Cary.
Well, actually, we do have to kind of modify what you said. They are fat. And that's why they were insulin resistant.
No, I'm just saying that that's the commercial now. It's not that you ate too much, it's that you have this insulin resistant
Well,
condition
yeah,
that you couldn't
the
help.
body couldn't process what was going on correctly, and you had elevated insulin levels. And unfortunately, a great majority of the people in this country today do have problems with their blood sugar. Type 2 diabetes, when I first started this whole health thing, type 2 diabetes was called adult onset.
Right.
Now you got little kids.
Right.
In some
Right.
cases, I think I saw a 6-month-old who was showing some kind of signs like that. So
Wow.
this is epidemic, and part of the other health crises we have, which is being overweight, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, because blood sugar is central to all of these functions. If you don't have proper blood sugar control, obviously your body isn't going to store the energy from the food that you eat in the proper way. It's going to interfere with your ability to even reason properly. We were talking about mental function. How many
Right.
people have ever noticed a hypoglycemic event in your life when you just were foggy, you were fuzzy, you were off, you just were not right? Well, imagine if that's going on day in and day out. And that kind of inflammation and all of these things, when you cause inflammation, when you have blood sugar, insulin that's too high or not being removed properly, one of the byproducts is going to be inflammation. And you can have that inflammation in the brain, or you can have that inflammation in your arteries or in your liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is one of the hallmarks of being overweight and having diabetes. And it's epidemic at this point. And when the liver doesn't function properly, well, guess what else is going on? You're not processing all the different chemicals that you need to process. You're not getting rid of waste material that should be taken care of. So the ramifications of this are not just, oh, I've got low blood sugar, or I've got high blood pressure, or whatever it has. So here, go take this medication. Take this medication, and we're going to alter the blood sugar to such a level that it won't be that much of a problem. But you didn't stop any of the processes. You didn't do anything to affect the lifestyle that's causing this in the first place, which is not enough exercise, eating too much, and eating too many refined carbohydrates, especially in the form of fructose, the sugar, which is causing all of these problems. So if you don't take care of that, all you're doing is masking a symptom, and it will show up in another area. You'll have something else pop up. And then you have the side effects from the kind of medication that they usually give you to deal with those kind of things. When you get to MPX 100, it's such an interesting product because it incorporates foods that traditionally have been used for blood sugar control for centuries. The two main ingredients, bitter melon and lotus root. Now, bitter melon, I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Asian food store. But perhaps if you've been there, you went to the produce area, you would see these tubers that look they're greenish. They kind of look like a cucumber, but it's warty. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of wrinkled and
That
crinkled.
didn't sound very appetizing, I'll tell you
It
that.
doesn't look appetizing at all. And it has to be, obviously, it's used in all different kinds of cuisine. But in Asia, they like bitter foods. We don't want bitter foods in the
Yeah,
West.
I would have to say, I'm a branding expert right now. I want to rebrand bitter melon. I want to give it a better name.
Well, all the Chinese herbs that are good for you are bitter.
Wow.
All the herbs in nature that really work to help us have a bitter component. And again, in the West, we're freezing out bitter in favor of sweet or favor of fatty. So we don't even want anything that gives the body an advantage in doing those kind of things. But bitter melon has been used again for centuries. It's in tropical and subtropical countries where it grows profusely, but there's all different kinds of it. Now, this MPX 100 was the brainchild of a wonderful man, Dr. Dallas Cluatra. We had the pleasure of seeing him back in the day come and give some lectures on this particular subject. He was a PhD, got his initial undergraduate work at Stanford, got a PhD from Berkeley, was well known in the industry, especially with his knowledge of the Asian cuisine and different types of Asian medicinal elements, as well as the kinds of things that we deal with here. And he and his brother found a wild form of bitter melon, what they call a wild genotype. It was smaller than the regular ones that you could find. There are all kinds of them around the world, but this particular variety that they found had all of the characteristics that made bitter melon so efficacious in being able to help the body remove excess sugar from the blood and do so in a way that didn't compromise the system by kind of pharmaceutically altering different things. It just helped to normalize what was going on. It helped to normalize the carbohydrate. All carbohydrates broken down into glucose, and it has to be used for energy or stored. And it improves the storage capacity of glucose in the muscles, where it's stored as glycogen for future energy projects, you might say. And it's extremely valuable in that regard because, again, it helps normalize the way the body uses this. And you talked about weight. Well, there is evidence in animals, not so much in humans yet, but there is evidence that the bitter melon and the rock lotus improve body energy stores so that it can help actually improve metabolism and help regulate visceral fat because it's going to be brought into play in terms of metabolic activity. So that's very, very important.
Can I take you back because I was being flippant in the beginning. Could you tell us exactly what does it mean to be insulin resistant? What does insulin resistance mean?
Well, it's kind of like, let me give you another example. It's kind of like being hit on the head with a hammer and developing a callus. So you're still being hit, but you don't feel it as much. So if you keep producing insulin over and over again because of high carbohydrate, refined carbohydrate foods, the body has to keep pumping out insulin to go to these insulin receptors to take care of the increased blood sugar in your body. Well, if that keeps going on over a long period of time, those receptors are not receptive. They just, it takes more and more. The body's pumping out more insulin because it's not being used properly. So it's trying to get more in there. But the more you put in the bloodstream, obviously, the more problems you have, especially with the inflammation, because it's very active and it's causing problems on the surface areas where it's located. So that insulin resistant, and this is characteristic of type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is a failure of the pancreas to produce insulin. And generally that's an inherited proposition. My father and brother both had type 1.
So how would a person identify if they are insulin resistant? Obviously, if you're really struggling with weight and you're having trouble, shedding weight, even if you're doing that, weight is one indicator, but what other indicators might a person have to say, oh, I could be developing insulin resistance?
Well, the main one though would be being overweight, having blood sugar swings that are erratic, because you've got too much sugar in the blood. It affects your mental concentration. It affects your mood. You don't have the energy levels that you want. And you'll notice that after eating, what's they call the body has to produce insulin and to help with the blood sugar from a meal. That's normal. That's logical.
Right.
And so it'll rise a bit after a meal, but it's supposed to come down. It's what they call postprandial insulin regulation. So as it goes up, the body then sends out the appropriate insulin. It takes care of what's going on. But if you have too much and it stays up too high, it doesn't clear the way it should. And that will have an effect on your body's ability to burn calories for fat. It'll impact your ability to think properly, to rest properly, to recover properly, all of those different kinds of things. But it's mainly going, and wound healing, for example, you may have problems there. You may notice neuropathy. You may notice that you have tingling in the extremities because your circulation starts to be disturbed over time.
Right.
And the end result over time can be the occlusion of your arteries, the veins and capillaries to the extremities, where a lot of people end up having some type of amputation, especially for the legs.
So this is not, it's not strictly insulin resistance and having too much insulin going into your body to combat blood sugar. It's not strictly for people who necessarily have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or are quote unquote pre-diabetic. The balance of blood sugar in the body is something all of us should at least be paying attention to, have a back eye on, to say, correct?
What you'll notice too is the better glucose control you have, the more you can go without eating and not be uncomfortable. People who have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, generally have a very short window where they have to eat, or they'll start to experience some real mood problems, some real mood swings. Their body doesn't have the ability to have sustained energy over a period of time because you're not burning the energy properly the way you should. I've had friends.
That's a really good clue for someone to think about. If we all know people who are hangry, who you get, and I guess we all can get that way. But if that's something that you deal with regularly, if you find that you're dipping and to make yourself feel better, you go foraging and you particularly go foraging for refined carbohydrates.
Right, exercise in a bottle. And that's because what exercise does, again, it helps to remove that excess sugar in the bloodstream. So you have better insulin control, or what they call calorie restriction, where you don't eat as much, or you have intermittent fasting, where you don't eat for a period of time. And what's that doing is putting less insulin into the system. The body doesn't have to produce insulin because it doesn't have any need to do so. That's where a keto diet for some conditions works out to be quite efficacious, because again, you're restricting the insulin in the bloodstream.
Gotcha.
And,
okay,
and we
so
have that ability.
Can MPX 100 help prevent insulin resistance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It can help normalize the system. It works. And the really interesting thing is that it works not just on the liver, where the body's producing the glucose, but it works on all the peripheral tissues as well. Metformin, which is a very popular diabetic drug, most people, majority of people in the world who are given medication will take metformin. It's very good, but it essentially works on the liver. It doesn't work on the peripheral tissues like MPX does because of the way the bitter melon function, and also the rock lotus. But the interesting thing here too, and this is important, the bitter melon that we have has been tested for its efficacy, for its effectiveness. Again, it's the certain wild phenotype that's been shown to be effective, because when they do studies on bitter melon, the fresh extract generally worked better than any kind of dried bitter melon. But not this one, because they also have a special technology for drying the bitter melon, using the right type and then drying it. And with the rock lotus, the same thing. There's a Chinese researcher who had studied rock lotus extensively and had found ways to process it so that all the active ingredients were there. He has a patent in China and Japan and the United States. That's the one we use as well. So
right, and I think it's important to let them know it's been dried. It hasn't been cooked. It hasn't been cooked down or stewed down or baked down. It's not a heat process. It's a natural drying process, correct?
Right. Well, the processing was done to make all the active ingredients
Still living.
possible, so
Right.
that they could express themselves. But that's really, really important, because you could buy a rock lotus supplement, you could buy a bitter melon supplement, but you don't know if it's the type that's going to give you all the benefit that you want. Uh, the rock lotus was famous because it came from a certain county in China. It's on the base of the Himalayas, called Bama, B-A-M-A, and it's it's not a real populated area, but the number of centenarians there per 1,000 is amongst the highest in the world. And it's
Wow.
not the only reason, the rock lotus, but it's an integral part of what they do. And when it comes to the bitter melon, perhaps you've heard of the blue zones. I don't
I
know if you.
have. Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the blue zone countries is Okinawa. Okinawa is a big user of bitter melon. It's been there for some time, and they have a very, very active form as well.
All right, Cary, I have someone has typed in a question for us, for you, not for me, for you. So the question is, if someone takes Enterprime before bed, but they find that they're still struggling with sleep, is this a sign of insulin resistance? If you have a lot of trouble getting to sleep regularly, is that a sign of insulin resistance?
Not necessarily. No, in fact, people who are kind of messed up like that generally fall asleep more than they want to.
More than they want to, because they're groggy and sleepy.
The body's energy metabolism has been messed up.
Gotcha.
What I would
Okay.
suggest is do a little breathing technique before you go to bed to help lower cortisol levels. There's a thing called the box method, or the tactical breathing, which is
Right.
actually developed for the Navy SEALs. And it's a very simple thing. Inhale 4, hold 4,
Or
exhale 4,
Yeah.
come back, but some kind of thing like that. And also get rid of all the blue light interference at night from all your devices.
Right.
Don't go on your phone, don't go on your tablet, watch out for the computer. If you're going to do all that at night, get some blue blocking glasses so that the melatonin can be produced in the body.
Also, there's another question here about side effects with MPX 100. Same thing, any side effects with MPX 100 as there is with metformin is the question I'm
No,
asking.
and that's the beauty. But, and I will say this as a caveat, if you're already taking diabetic medication, it's probably a good idea to check with your healthcare provider,
Yeah.
because if this lowers your blood sugar levels more, it may be lower than it should be, because you're also taking something that's kind of artificially doing the whole thing. But it has a beneficial effect on the liver, not any kind of negative thing, which is one of the things. And I'm not saying it's bad, because metformin has been around for a long time. It's the subject of a big anti-aging campaign.
Right.
But if metformin is anti-aging, so is MPX 100. Should be even more anti-aging.
Right. And explain, how could it possibly be? Obviously, when you are dealing with knocking out inflammation, that in itself is anti-aging, because inflammation is one of the biggest giveaways of aging that there is. People ask me my beauty secret, and I tell them it's joy and Enterprime and Delta E. But inflammation, what could make MPX 100 a quote unquote anti-aging supplement?
Well, again, and that, don't underestimate the inflammation, because everything that happens
it's the thing, right?
through.
Yeah.
So if you have too much insulin, inflammation. If you don't have storage capacity, right, inflammation.
Yep.
If you don't exercise properly, then you have too much inflammation. And when MPX 100 is what they call an exercise mimetic, MIMETIC, where it duplicates some of the effects of exercise without having you to exercise. Now, please don't get carried away on this and think that you just take
not a workout in a bottle.
You don't have to exercise. Combine the two together and you'll really get going. But again, insulin control is probably the key to aging. Last year, for the first time in decades, average life expectancy in the United States went down.
Wow.
And part of that, again, the obesity. If you don't have blood sugar control, you don't have control of the body fat, which again is a factor that influences longevity and health. We talked about the inflammation. We talked about the brain function, that's all key to what's going on. Circulation, proper circulation. You're going to have tissues that don't perform the way they should. It all works, in a big
It's all a system,
wheel,
right?
so to
The
speak.
body is a system.
Body is a system, and this is just one way to help you. You want to take it about 20 to 30 minutes before a meal. You want to
Okay.
get it into the system. And they talk about taking two. Two's probably just fine, to take, and especially before a meal with carbohydrates. If your main carbohydrate meal, let's say, is at night, you're going to have some sweet potatoes or a potato, or you're going to have some whole grain bread or whatever it is. I'm talking about hopefully the better sources of carbohydrates.
Yeah, not
If you're
chocolate
doing that,
cake, tapioca pudding.
take that MPX. Make sure you've got it for the carbohydrate meal, because that's going to help it to work better in your body.
Okay, so let's give some encouragement to some folks who might be kind of on that edge. Their doctor has either told them, hey, you're on the edge here of type 2 diabetes, or someone who has just found out they've got type 2 diabetes. They haven't yet been put on medication. They've just been given the warning flag. So give them some encouragement, Cary. If you were across the table from them and they said, Cary, man, I can't get anything under control. I've just found this out. What do I do? What's your best advice?
Okay. And before I forget, because you had asked me something before, let me just go back over. Diabetes and heart disease are intricately combined. You got one, you probably got the other, right?
Gotcha.
So look at the risk factors for that, for heart disease, because they're going to be the same for diabetes. The metabolic syndrome, your waist size, high cholesterol, low good cholesterol, high triglycerides, and LDL, the bad cholesterol, up too high. Those are all the risk factors you've got to look for. So once you make a commitment to start doing this kind of a program, and you combine it, let's say, with, say you never exercise, and it's hard to get going. Well, don't go out to the store and buy yourself a new exercise outfit and join the gym and get yourself a trainer right off the bat. That'll last maybe a couple of weeks or a month. Start walking. Right. And especially after a meal. If you want to lower your blood sugar naturally and amplify the effects of MPX 100, go for a short walk after dinner. That will help with insulin clearance. It'll also help clear up your mind. You'll notice that, and that's part of what we talked about again. A clearer mind, once you clear the body of excess insulin and that kind of sugar dilemma, you'll notice that it's clearer, you're focused better. So get yourself a little something where you can just start activity and look at the kinds of foods that you're eating. I know it's hard to change your diet. I understand that. And I know that sometimes we still, even in impacts, we tend to talk about using these supplements in lieu of making some of the other lifestyle changes that you really should do. Now, there's no doubt that it's going to help you. Anytime you add something better than what you're doing, you're going to be helped. But for the long-term benefit, for the real impact of what's going on, like for Enterprime, for example, or whatever, Delta E, man, changing that lifestyle, now you're really going to amplify the benefits of everything that you're doing. It'll just be like 100-fold better than what you're experiencing now. And all you need is just a little time to get that feedback. Whereas you say, you start to realize, darn, I do feel better. Right. Wow, what's going on here? And I'm like you, and maybe this is a downside of being kind of the way you should, but if I deviate just a little bit, I don't feel as good. I can tell, darn, something's not right. But there are people who live with that feeling all the time, every day. Right. But you don't have to. And once you get it's like getting a little fresh air. You say, wow, this could be cool. This could be cool. I could really get behind this. Yeah. So I want to encourage anyone that's watching or listening, wherever you are,
don't feel like you're too far gone to make a shift, right? A
Never.
tiny changes multiplied by time equal incredible results. So I agree with Cary. When we try to boil the whole ocean and make a giant lifestyle shift, it's just not sustainable, and you get discouraged, you fall off the wagon, and usually stay off. So these tiny incremental changes, just, like he said, just pay attention. What am I eating? Make one better choice a day. If you normally eat, a lot of sugar, just start by cutting back before you try to, cold turkey cut it out. Take the MPX 30 minutes before dinner. Take a walk after dinner. Drink your Enterprime in the morning, or maybe have your Enterprime close at night. That let that magnesium help you rest, or whatever it is. But just begin something that starts to make you feel better. And I recommend you keep a little journal about it, even if you just text yourself on the phone. How did I feel today? Start by how you feel, so that you can kind of measure. What gets measured gets done. So measure how you feel about things. Like Cary, I know when I'm just off. We just had Labor Day weekend, and we had friends and family and cookouts and hot dogs and hamburgers and all the happy, fun things. And I ate them all and enjoyed my, but you know what? I'm going to be cleaning it up this week, because by Monday afternoon, I felt it. When I got up this morning, I knew I'd had 4 days of eating like an American, and it was time to do something different. So I just want to encourage you. It's not too late. Even if you're on diabetic medication, even if you are 50, 100 pounds overweight, you can make a change today, a little change today, multiplied over time. You can feel a lot better. You can take your life back.
You know what, too, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because there's a whole group of physicians now who are treating type 2 diabetes with just food, and especially more of a plant-based diet. And that has a dramatic effect on improving blood sugar levels. So just by, like you say, just add another serving of a veggie or something that make it taste good. My goodness, you got extra virgin olive oil, you got good fresh ground pepper, you've got different things that you can use to make food taste palatable. And to your other point, in terms of incremental steps, every day when I exercise, I always ask for guidance and to help me with what I'm going to be doing. And then I always remember, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And
Amen.
as soon as I get that first rep in, I said, just took that step.
Yeah. That's a great mantra for people to just like, okay, what's my one step today? What's the step on my journey that I'm going to take in the direction I want to go? So, maybe for you, maybe you should look into MPX 100, order yourself a bottle, and try it. Even if it's just start with trying it before dinner, before your carbohydrate meal, most carbohydrate heavy meal, whatever that is, and give it a try, guys, and think about what it is. And take a walk after. Those two things right there, taking MPX 100 before the carbohydrate heavy meal and taking a walk after. If that's the only thing you did, I guarantee you would feel a difference in a week. And in a month, you'd feel so good, you would begin to kick in better habits.
I'll give you a funny little story. A friend of mine, unfortunately, was vaccinated, but got COVID, and he lost his sense of smell or taste. He's lost 10 pounds.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? He said, I can't taste that much, but I know when I'm full. And before I didn't know it. So I just stopped eating.
Wow.
He said, and now I've lost 10 pounds.
How about that? So Cary, tell me, how do you feel when you take MPX 100? How do you know it's working?
Well, it's kind of, again, once you have a perspective of how you feel, how you want to feel, you want to keep duplicating that. I don't think MPX by itself is the whole key here, but it's MPX 100, it's my diet, it's my exercise program, it's all part of this program. But to me, it's so logical. It's so logical. And I almost think that in some ways it's underappreciated. It's underappreciated until you understand the dynamics of what's going on in your body in terms of how we handle food, produce energy, burn fat, use our mental ability to its best degree. Once you start doing all of that, well, I don't care. You don't have to have one thing that does the whole doggone thing. Just be grateful for the totality of what we're doing, and try to incorporate, as you said, just a little bit every day into something that's going to help you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the body is a system. So anything you do that improves your system is going to improve your overall health and wellness. And that will impact you mentally and physically and emotionally. It'll leak out into your relationships. It even leaks out into your career because you just perform better when your mind is clear and you're in a good and creative space. So it's a system, guys. So everything about me, I love, I talk about, I mentor a lot of people and I say, well, hey, if I'm going to be your mentor, there are times when I'm going to be your tour mentor. And it's important to know, like, we don't always like all the advice we hear, but when I reach in and take advice from somebody who has something I want to attain. And Cary's a guy, Cary, you can share your age if you want to share your age, but you're a healthy guy. You're healthier than most 20-year-olds, healthier than most 30-year-olds. And I want to attain, when I meet someone who has what I want, which is great health and wellness, I want to listen to what they say. And Cary's example is just such an inspiration that every day he commits himself to doing things for his mental health and well-being, puts himself in that state of gratitude and mindfulness and movement and taking in healthy food and supplements and pure water. And, there's no way that you just multiply that over time that you don't enjoy good health. So Cary, I just appreciate your willingness to share with us what, I sure would rather take some MPX 100 than eat a whole one of those ugly green bumpy melons every day.
Plus, I'll tell you, if you had bitter melon soup, you would know it. You would know it. I just want to echo what you said, and I'm so thankful. Thank you so much. I appreciate those kind comments. But one thing I have learned as I got older, do not compare yourself to the past. Do not live in the past. Be where you are now. Be here now is the whole thing. Whenever, for instance, when I'm exercising, I never think of, oh, what I used to do. I'm so glad I was not a great athlete when I was younger, and I have these pictures of the way I used to be. How sad. To me, it's what I did yesterday will inform what I do today. What I do today will inform tomorrow. That's my time frame. That's my time frame. Just put it right where we are. Don't be going back. No used to's. No, I used to's. Get that out of your head. I used to do this. I used to do that. No. Do what you did yesterday, what do you do today, what you'll do tomorrow. Keep that focus right there. And it's a journey, as we said. If you got weight to lose, it ain't going to happen in one day. It ain't going to happen in a week. Just be patient in the sense that you're feeling better every day. You're doing better every day, and it's cumulative. Don't ever fall for those silly things that say, hey, take this and you're going to lose 10 pounds in a week or a day or whatever it happens to be. And here's a picture of this. Nonsense. Don't get suckered into those kind of silly things.
Yeah, inch by inch, guys. It's daily, it's incremental. It's an eye on the future. For me, my motivation are grandchildren that are not yet born, and that I want to take them to the park and take them rock climbing and attend their weddings and dance. And those are the things that keep me making sure that I'm going to be strong and healthy, because I want to be around for a long time, and I want to be able to enjoy the people that are not even in my life yet. I want to be healthy for the future. So that's what motivates me when I feel like I'd rather just be a potato on this couch. Nope, I'm gonna get my butt up and walk around, because those little grandchildren are going to want me to play with them, and I'm going to want to have the energy to do that.
Great.
So thank you, Cary. Thank you so much as always.
Thank you.
Impacts family, the next call is going to be September 21st, and we are going to be rolling out at long last, much awaited for, a brand new website that is so much easier to navigate. The information is easy to understand. The enrollment page is going to be streamlined and super simple. And I want to tell you all, maybe you know this, but this just got highlighted to me recently, and it was like, oh, that's something I forgot all about. Did you know that anytime you refer someone new who has never tried any Impact World product before, whether that's going to be for Enterprime or Delta E, MPX 100, Prostolon, Menopause, Eneressence, any of those products, the first time that they purchase, they're a new customer, brand new customer. You get a $10 credit to your account for every product they buy. So if they call up and they order a power, an Enterprime and a Delta E, you would get a $10 credit for that Enterprime bottle and a $10 credit for that Delta E. And that new customer period lasts for 2 months from when they enroll. So any products that they try over that enrollment period, you get a $10 credit for referring them. Now they got to know you referred them, so they need to tell you, hey, when they order, we got to know, or you let them know it impacts, hey, did my friend so-and-so order something? But like, that's a great bonus that just gets credited to your account and gets applied to your monthly auto ship or whatever that is. So I just want to highlight that benefit and bonus. And I also want to remind you that some of the best ways to save, when somebody goes on auto ship, it's a 10% savings on products. But if you're going to order enough products that you've got $120 worth of volume, which is typically 4 products, that could be just 2 power packs, or maybe it's Enterprime, 2 Delta E, and a bottle of MPX, whatever that is. If you're at that volume, make sure that you have enrolled as a representative, that you are positive you're on the books as a representative, because then your discount jumps to 25%. And that's significant, to go to a 25% discount when you've got that volume on auto ship, that you get that every month, that 25% discount. And as a representative, you can begin to sign some people up under you. There's like a whole path to get to team leader. And right now I've got some people who are signed up under me as representatives. And can I tell you, it's kind of cool to get a check in the mail, because all of that volume, everything they all purchase counts towards my monthly volume. And I get a percentage, a nice little bonus for the stuff that they're going to buy anyway. So it's kind of nice to get that bonus check. So I want to remind you, if you're not already, to make sure you're enrolled as a representative, because that's when the benefits really start to accrue. And in a future call, we're going to talk about what does it look like, the path to get to a team leader. What's the path from a team leader to an envoy? So we're going to kind of focus a little bit more as we get this new website. You're going to have some great tools to help you build the business. You already share the products with people you know and love. So why not have the opportunity to have some of that benefit to you? Even if your goal is just to get your monthly auto ship paid for, that's totally doable, that you could earn enough that your Impact World products don't cost you anything every month. That is a really doable goal. And on top of that, extra cash. So anyway, I am so grateful that Cary was on with us tonight. I got a little bit inspired. I just got sent this. Kim sent this to me because we were going to talk about it. I haven't really dived into MPX 100. I haven't really thought about it, but I also get the sugar sleeps, that little carb nap. And so this has inspired me to think about it. Okay, I'm going to start trying this before my carb heavy meal. I'm going to start taking a couple of these and make sure that I leave myself the motivation to take a good walk after dinner. And I hope you've made some good choices too. So tonight, as I sit here with my hydrogen water and my Delta E in my hydrogen water, look at that, it's just 4 ounces. That's all it takes. This is my mental acuity and my defense against Alzheimer's and all the things that are good for me. And I just want to toast your health. I do know someone asked a question, and I think Cary might not be with us, but can MPX help improve your metabolism? Yes. Can it lower cortisol? I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you. I feel like it probably is an answer yes, but since I don't know that answer, I don't want to say it. But I do know it helps improve your metabolism, helps boost that metabolism. Like you said, for people who are not able to exercise, this is not like a workout in a bottle, but it does some of the things that exercise does for you as far as controlling that insulin. So yes, it does improve metabolism. So with that, I want to bid the Impact World family a good night and good health, and God bless you. And I'll see you September 21st, and we'll roll out the new website. So have your questions ready in advance, and I hope you all have a great, great night. All right. God bless.